welcome to the FanTeam Weekly Redzone Monster Team Build Challenge. I brought back Shaun this week. How are you, mate?
I'm good. I'm subbing for, I don't know, is it Bear again, is it?
Yeah, Mr. Bandari can't be here today, unfortunately. So I've got you in. You are the 101. We know you're a 5-star athlete anyway, Shaun. So we are ready to attack the week, and I'm not going against you this week at wide receiver, because if we'd played your play last week, I think we would have cashed.
Well, of course, you have to play the plays. But yeah, no, I mean, it was, we both said it was like a 50-50 call, wasn't it? Whether we went with him or what was it? Dylan, was it Dylan?
Yeah.
And the game script just got out of hand because they were just throwing left, right, and centre, weren't they? It wasn't a running game. So, so the way it goes, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the way it goes. I mean, Dylan didn't really do that bad. I think he got like 15 points, but he just didn't find the end zone last week, which was unfortunate. So,
yeah, and we didn't have much any Taylor, so that really scuppered our plans.
It did. Did you have a good Thanksgiving? I know we don't really celebrate it here in the UK, but did you enjoy the slate of games that was on? And did you have any little wins on the showdowns?
No good. I went heavy, both running backs in the early game, and that must have been the worst game I've ever watched in my life.
The halftime show wasn't much better, was it? Either, to be fair.
No. Oh no, it was awful. I mean, the Dallas game was a peach, wasn't it? It was a great game to watch.
Yeah. There's I've been sort of putting it out all week about Mr. Ezekiel Elliott. Are we sure he's the best running back on that team anymore? Like Tony Pollard has got some juice behind him.
Yeah, well, I think they're going to rest Zeke next game and start Pollard anyway. So
maybe they're saving Zeke for the playoffs. We'll see. We'll see with that.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I don't know why they don't run the ball more. I mean, when they run the ball more than they throw it, I think they're 29-0 in the last 29 games.
Yeah,
they seem to just want to throw it like 40 times a game. I read somewhere last week that the offensive coordinator might be auditioning for a head coaching job. That's why he's just throwing it everywhere. He wants to be the top offense, isn't it? So
I don't even know who the offensive coordinator is for the Cowboys. Actually, I know the defensive.
Yeah, it's Kellen. It's Kellen Moore. Kellen Moore.
Yeah. The defensive coordinator is Dan Quinn, isn't it? And ex head coach of the Falcons.
Yeah, I mean he's improved that defense.
Yeah, I mean Parsons has been fantastic for them. It just annoys me because he was the pick that I wanted the Giants to take in the draft, and they didn't. And to be fair, he is a typical Dallas Cowboy. He's a bit of a rogue. He's got a bit of a screw loose at times. So he's a Cowboys pick, and he's proven to be very, very good. And yeah, I'm very disappointed that my Giants didn't draft him.
They're awful, aren't they, the Giants?
Yeah, we are awful. But there's
holes everywhere.
Good news come out today that it looks like, good news in the week. Jason Garrett's got fired from his offensive coordinator job, which is good because his offense was offensive. It was very offensive to watch at times. So that's good for us. But they promoted Freddie Kitchens from within. We're going to obviously talk about some of the plays in a bit. I do like Evan Ingram this week for a bunch of reasons, but Freddie Kitchens was the tight ends coach at the Giants, so I think we're going to see a little bit more of Evan Ingram this week, but we'll see. And it looks like Dave Gettleman's going to be going, so that's another good thing, the GM. So I think they need to totally burn it down and rebuild everywhere. I would be getting rid of everything in the offseason, even Saquon Barkley. You need to start again, so to speak, and you don't pay running backs in the NFL, for me.
Yeah, I mean, all their star players they can't keep on the field. What did they pay Kenny Golladay 40 million guaranteed, didn't they? Or signing bonus, and he's hardly been on the field.
No, exactly. So the wide receiver core is just. I mean, they paid Sterling Shepard. What? Yeah. So the guy can never get on the field. So I don't know. We will see in the off season. But Shaun, we are gonna move on. We are gonna build a team today. And let's get it up. Let's have a look what we got. We'll start with the quarterbacks. I know we talked about a little brief chat before we come on. You didn't particularly like the slate as much this week. I actually prefer it from what it was last week. So
now I find there's everyone seems priced up, and there's no like lower tier or middle tier. You've either got to go everyone's too highly priced, or the cheaper options are just not guys that you really want. There's no like middle ground, so you're going to have to make some decisions this week, I think.
Definitely, there is a little bit of value to be had, but like, I do get what you mean. When we before we come on, we were speaking about the wide receivers and paying down there. When you're paying down at that position, there's a few bust potentials, but also there's a few there's a few down there that could go off, but they do have that bust in them as well. But we'll start with the quarterback, and I want to talk about Mr. Cam Newton to start with because you was all over him last week, and he looked good last week.
Yeah, I mean, I've told you. I mean, he's like he knows that offense inside out, isn't he? He was there for years. I mean, most of the pieces are still there. I mean, the only one who's not there is Curtis Samuel, isn't it? I think he's the only one who's not. He's still not there, and most probably the tight end. Can't remember his name. Greg Olsen. Yeah. But apart from that, I mean, McCaffrey's still there. They've got DJ Moore, isn't it? So and Anderson's still there. So yeah, I mean, most of the pieces are still there, and I think he's just got to get back to how he was. Of course, his throwing's not as good as it. Well, he was never an elite thrower, was he?
No. Got DJ Moore going last week, though, didn't he? DJ Moore gets in the end zone. I think he had about 50 yards. So, what was Cam's points last week? So, let's get that up. Oh, there we go. That's a little bit slow there. History. So, he had 26.16 points last week. So, he had a good day, really.
Yeah, I mean, what did he passing yards? He only had 189 passing yards. He had 2 passing TDs and a rushing TD, and he rushed for nearly 50 yards as well. I mean, but that's a typical Cam day, isn't it? That is.
Yeah, that's typical. But these are the plays that you like, isn't it? Really, like these rushing quarterbacks. They're what I normally target when I'm playing these games, anyway. So, I say you got DJ Moore going, which was nice to see. Do you like him this week against the Dolphins?
Yeah. I'm not high on him this week, but I think there are much better plays. But yeah. I mean, you can play him. He's not like a 1 week wonder, was he? So yeah. I wouldn't be adverse to putting him in some lines.
Dolphins 28th against opposing quarterbacks. Give up the 28th most fantasy points. Sorry, in the whole of the season so far. So yeah, he's good. I think he's a good play this week. I really like Kirk Cousins this week. I mentioned this on the 5-yard rush show. The dude is just getting it done at the minute. He's just 300-yard games, and what is he? I think he's thrown 3 picks on the season. That's pretty good going.
Yeah, I'm not overly high on Cousins this week. I remember the wasn't it the playoff game he had last at San Francisco was dreadful, wasn't it? They got blown away.
True.
He was awful, but of course this time he's got Jefferson, hasn't he? I mean, he did have Diggs there the last time he was there, but I like the 49ers defense. I am biased, as you know, but I won't have much Vikings. I don't think.
You don't think that's going to be a high scoring game?
No, I don't think so. I think 49ers will do what they always do, isn't it? They try and ground and pound. I mean, look at last week's drive. They had the ball for 14 minutes on the first possession, didn't they?
Yeah, basically the first quarter was over, wasn't it, by the time they actually punched it in. So
yeah, I mean, the Rams struggled when they went there as well, didn't they, a couple of Monday nights ago?
Yeah, the Rams do. The 49ers, though, you mentioned it in our group chat, that the 49ers seem to have the Rams number, don't they?
Yeah, they do. I think because I don't think they know how to stop them. You know, they just do a lot of dink and dunk passes and stuff, and they spread it around. They run the ball, and the Rams' defense is quite aggressive, isn't it? So I remember the play to Sanders, wasn't it, a couple of years back, where he was like 30 yards open.
Yeah.
You know, so but yeah, no, I like the 49ers this week. I don't think it'll be a high-scoring game. I think 49ers will try and control it. And also, I think Greenlaw's back this week for the 49ers as well. Same as D Ford, their edge rusher. So they're getting much healthier on defense, and they're in the wild card spot as well for the playoffs. So yeah,
you might have just took me off Mr. Kirk Cousins then.
I think 20 points is his ceiling this week. If you want 20 points, then go for it. But not at his 18.3 million for 20 points. Yeah. No thanks.
Well, as you like your 49ers this week, do you have any interest in Mr. Jimmy G?
No. I think there's only maybe 2 plays, and that's either Kittle or Debo. So
yeah,
they're the only 2 guys I would really want to play.
So who is your plug-in at quarterback this week?
I think you should go straight to the top of the board and play Brady.
Yeah, I mean that game has got high scoring potential. Are you not a little bit worried about Brady though going into Indianapolis? They're pretty good against the run, aren't they? The Colts.
Yeah, I think Brady will come out and he'll start slinging it. I think Tampa only run the ball just for the sake of running it. I don't think they use it as like their base offense, do they? They run it to
no.
keep teams honest. They're not a run first team, are they? I mean, Brady will come out and start throwing it. Yeah, the Colts are pretty good defensive team and stuff. So yeah, I think Godwin will have a good day today.
Yeah, I mean Evans is beat up, isn't he? I think he's questionable. I think he'll play, but I think he's
Yeah,
questionable going into that game. But
yeah, he had a back spasm or something, didn't he? So
we'll probably see some Gronk as well, won't we? In this game, a bit of
yeah,
Gronk.
yeah. I like Gronk as well. So yeah,
Yeah, Gronk went for. I think he did. He had 6 targets, 6 catches, and 70 yards against the Giants and the other day. So yeah, I mean, I'm not going to talk anyone off Tom Brady. Jalen Hurts, the highest scoring quarterback on this slate. Obviously, you got the rushing upside there, but I did mention this on the 5 yard the other day that I was a little bit wary that this game could get out of hand early, and the Eagles just keep the ball on the ground with the running backs.
yeah. I can see your point there. What about Tyrod Taylor
So I
against
just
the Jets?
Jalen Hurts 69 rushing yards last week. Very nice. Tyrod Taylor, yes, against the New York Jets. Obviously, the Texans at home. He had a nice game last week, actually, Tyrod, from
Yeah,
what
he
I
did.
remember, against the Titans. Added 28 rushing yards. That's what saved his day, I suppose. There, the rushing touchdowns. Didn't have a very good passing day, but that's what saved his day, isn't it? The rushing touchdowns there.
Yeah, well, that's what he is, isn't he? He's
Yeah,
a mobile quarterback. So that's what you really want. He's like a version of Cam Newton, I suppose.
yeah, he is. He's a bit less than Cam Newton for me, but yeah, I see what you mean. It's hard. Now you've mentioned it to me. It's a little bit harder this week at quarterback. I had a little bit of interest.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Because if you look down, I mean, you're still having to pay even people like Matt Ryan, Jimmy G. I mean, you're still paying over 16 million for these guys.
Yeah, I don't want to play Matt Ryan. I mentioned this on the 5 yard pod the other day. I mean, look at his performance there: 2.12, 0.68. The Jaguars' defense has got a bit of swagger about it as of late. I really don't like Matt Ryan in this game. He's just got no weapons. He's got Kyle Pitts and obviously Patterson's going to be back this week, but that is it. Mike Davis is doing absolutely nothing. The rest of that wide receiver core is just awful. I don't care if the guy is lobbing the ball about and throwing it everywhere, but no one like the pass catchers there do not inspire me to pick Matt Ryan in any lineup, and there's no rushing upside here at all for Matt Ryan.
No, he's throwing, isn't he?
Yeah.
He's definitely gone downhill in it since Julio left. So and he's coming to the back end of his career, isn't he? He hasn't got many more years in him, I doubt.
I'll just have a quick look on page 2. We've got here Teddy Bridgewater against the Chargers, Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson against the Texans.
Yeah, I think just Teddy Bridgewater, I think, would be the lowest I would go. I mean, Bridgewater might not be in a bad matchup. It looks like quite a high-scoring game against the Chargers.
Yeah, I don't think it's a bad match. I would worry with him in this. I did notice that the Chargers DST is very priced down this week, and it was something I had my eye on. I mean, look, he's had a poor game there in week 10 against the Eagles, but I think I mentioned that with you last week that the Eagles defense beat up on really bad quarterbacks, so they might be a very good play this week against Daniel Jones as well. But he's had a nice day here against Dallas, hasn't he? Actually,
so, yeah, he had a good day that day. I mean, he didn't do much against the Eagles. He only got 9 points, but 21 there. He's got an 18 against the Raiders. Was an 18 against the Steelers. Yeah, I mean he's up and down, isn't he? He's not consistent like some. But for that price, I mean you've got nearly 5 million saving on what Brady gives you. And he's going to be super low owned because people won't click to the second page, will they? They'll just look at the first page, and most probably won't scroll across. So yeah, I might be low owned. So
yeah, no, Yeah, I had a little bit of interest in Big Ben actually. He threw for over 300 yards last week against the Chargers. He threw the last time he done that this season was against the Bengals earlier on the week 3 of the season. So I thought he was a nice sort of price, a little pivot away. The only thing I do worry is it's Ben, isn't it? In these early kickoffs, there's a bit of a tradition there where he doesn't particularly do great.
Now, also it's a divisional matchup as well, isn't it? So they tend to feisty affairs. Yeah, I mean it's very difficult. I mean, you could play. I don't know. There might be 8 or 10 different guys you could play, and they're all similarly priced, aren't they? There's not much difference between any of them. Any Tannehill love this week? He's got no weapons, has he?
No, I'm not playing them against that defense either. That defense has just been lights out for the last 3 or 4 weeks, hasn't it? I mean that Patriots defense has been what's winning them games for most of the time.
Yeah, especially with Jude on, isn't it? Off the edge, yeah.
Yeah, I can't play Ryan Tannehill this week. Joe Burrow, like you say, I think that's a risky play with Joe Burrow. It's a divisional game. Yeah, it's not pretty. These two here, I mentioned this on 5 yards, Stafford and Rodgers. Rodgers obviously dealing with that injury that he's got. I don't particularly like this game. I think it's going to be cold. I think a lot of people are going to be on it. I think a lot of people think it's going to be quite high scoring, and I don't particularly think it is going to be, just due to it's going to be so cold in Green Bay.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. 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 I mean, it's going to be a good game to watch, isn't it? But I don't know about.
It'd be a great game to watch, yeah. But for fantasy, I mean, the Rams have looked terrible for the last 2 weeks as well. This is hard. You've really took me off Kirk Cousins now as well. Carson Wentz game could get out of hand, but he could start having to throw the ball. I don't know if that's a good thing though.
No, yeah, they're more of a run first sort of team, aren't they?
Yeah, Tua. What we got here at Tua? So he's had a nice game against the Jets and good defense. The Panthers. Maybe we just stick Brady in.
Okay, I'm happy to go there. I mean, we can also go down, pay down if we're stuck for budget a bit later.
We could do, yeah. I mean, but I think that's where we have to sort of start, isn't it? We've talked about literally every quarterback on this site except Justin Herbert, but he's for the extra 0.2 million. I think I'd rather pay up and get Brady in.
Yeah, and against a Denver pretty good defense, it's a bit high for me. Yeah.
Right, so we'll go with Brady in there. Let's have a look at these running backs. Might have to do some savings now. Christian McCaffrey, top price. Jonathan Taylor, second there. Tough matchup against the Bucs, but they are suspect to receiving running backs, and obviously Jonathan Taylor sees a bit of receiving work there. So I don't know. And like you just mentioned there, the Colts want to run the ball, don't they? I'm not writing him off ever again after what he done against the Bills. So
yeah, I mean it was amazing, wasn't it? I mean, what did he get? 50 odd points, wasn't it? Was it
53.40 points? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, his last 4 weeks, 53, 24, 34, 21, 18, 28, 31. I mean, the guy's just on a tear, isn't he?
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm not going to talk anyone off him. I did actually like Austin Eckler quite a bit this week, just because I know the Broncos defense, if you look at it on paper, it's actually quite good against the run. But if you look into it a little bit more, they gave up 163 rushing yards the last time they played against the Eagles. And that was to Jordan Howard and Boston Scott.
Yeah, I don't mind Eckler. I think he's okay today. I think Eckler.
We mentioned Joe Mixon on the 5 yard. I think he's in play. This has been an interesting one. I'm having a bit of a debate with people about this. I don't think Jones will play today for the Packers. They said he's a game time decision. They're on a bye next week. Why would you even risk it when you've got someone like AJ Dillon anyway?
Where are we? He got a limited practice on Friday and has a realistic chance of playing. Packers head coach says he wanted to see how Jones responded to practice, and it's possible we won't know until the inactives are announced. So you might not know till late with Jones. But it sounds 50-50. But yeah, if they got a bye, then I would think they would rest him again.
Yeah. They're on a bye next week, so I can't see him going. I mean, that is how you beat the Rams, though. You can run on the Rams, so... AJ Dillon, any interest?
I prefer when he's at home I prefer to play home running backs rather than road running backs.
Yeah,
But
and Dylan is at home this week against the Rams.
yeah, I wouldn't mind that. But you'd want to hear the Jones news first before you played him, wouldn't you?
Yes, definitely. I mentioned this the other day. I really like Miles Sanders this week. He saw 16 targets last week out, coming back from injury for about 95 yards. Did have a fumble, unfortunately, in there as well. But there's no Jordan Howard this week. Jordan Howard's out. The Giants are 27th against the run, giving up the 27th most fantasy points on the season. And the Eagles in the last 4 weeks have made a effort to start running the ball a bit more.
Yeah. I wouldn't mind that. No, yeah.
Should we'll take a look at some of these value plays. I know we mentioned a couple before we come on. Who do you like at value this week?
I like Dontrell Hilliard. 8.9 million.
Yeah.
He had
Let's get his stats up.
7 carries for 35 yards last week, and he had 8 receptions for 47 yards. So if he's going to be used like that, if he can get you 15, 16 points at 8 million odd, I wouldn't mind that.
Do you not worry though with that matchup?
No, not if I think he's dumping it off a lot of the time. If Tannehill's dumping off and just, running screens and those sort of things. Yeah, I mean, it's not a great matchup, and you wouldn't have thought. I think 15, 16 points might be as high as he will go. But if you're happy with that, I think that's okay. I mean, apart from him, there's not much. I don't have as much else value about anyway. I mean,
you don't like the 49ers running backs then?
No, they mix it up, and Debo gets a few carries here or there as well, and that takes away some of the upside. I mean,
he had 8 carries last week.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So, what did Wilson have? He had.
So I'll get stats up now. Wilson had
50 rushing yards. So, yeah.
Better matchup this week though. The Jags are actually quite good against the run. They're like second or third on the season against the run, so they're pretty good against it. But so it's a better match. The Vikings are poor against the run. It's a better matchup for these backs in San Francisco this week. Rex Burkhead, obviously, I think a lot of people are going to get excited about the matchup. I'm personally avoiding Rex Burkhead. The stat line wasn't pretty last week. He was, 4 points, rushing yards, 40 rushing yards, and I think that was off about 18 attempts. That's terrible.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. He's not a favourite of mine. He's more like a third down sort of back, isn't he, rather than a workhorse or something. What about Hines if you played the fade of Taylor? If Taylor goes down early?
Yes, I see where you're coming from, but he has been phased out, hasn't he, as of late, in the last sort of 3 or 4 weeks.
Yeah, I remember, was it last year or the year before, when Taylor had his fumbling problems, they'd bench him and Hines would come in and get a couple of touchdowns here or there, wouldn't he? But Taylor's...
he's got that nice game there, hasn't he, against the Jets, but then after that, 4.9... Imagine 2 tough matchups, to be fair, as well, even though we all know what Jonathan Taylor done to the Bills, but it is still a tough matchup for running backs. You saw Tony Jones didn't get there on Thursday night, so... I'm a little bit... The only thing I'm wary of is just the usage. There's just not been... that game against the Bills, there's no receiving work at all there. We've seen a little bit against the Jags. But if you go back to the Jets game, there's 74 rushing yards and 34 receiving yards and a touchdown. So I see where you're coming from. It could be a nice pivot away, and that is the Achilles heel of that Bucs defense. They give up a fair bit of production to receiving backs. So I don't hate that.
Yeah, it is a bit of a gamble, isn't it? You're really banking on Taylor having an injury or Taylor not doing much, and they try something different. But yeah, it's a bit of a risk, isn't it?
So you want to stick Hillard in? We'll do it. We're going to put your value play in this lineup. So Hillard's in. I really want to jump on one of these Broncos running backs as well at some point, but Melvin's getting the touchdowns, but I just want to see a Javonte Williams breakout at some point.
Yeah. I mean, I think they use Gordon more in the goal line situations, don't they?
They do.
Williams does most of the work between the 20s.
Should we come back to the running backs? We've got cheap play in. Should we come back to them, move on to wide receiver? Should we just stick Godwin in? If you want to stack, do you want to stack?
Yeah, I think we have to stack with a quarterback. Yeah, I'm happy sticking Godwin in.
Right, so we'll stick Godwin in. Did you want to do the bring back with Pittman?
Not over keen on that.
No, okay. Just obviously it's a tactic we can use. Let's have a look at some more of these other wide receivers that we got this week. DJ Moore, so he got going last week, 50 yards and a touchdown. Good matchup against the Dolphins. Probably we'll see a Xavier Howard though in that matchup, so maybe something to be a little bit wary of. What about Chase Claypool on the pivot against the Bengals?
Yeah, he had a good game last week, didn't he?
Yeah, 14.4.
5 catches, 93 yards. So yeah,
and a touchdown.
Yes, yeah, I don't mind him.
Going back to running backs for some reason.
What about Brandon Cook, slightly higher in price?
Yeah, I see where you're coming from, but I mean, look at that. That was a good matchup last week as well.
Yeah, I mean, he's fairly consistent. Well,
he wasn't last week. Two receptions for 18 yards. I just think he's limited with Tyrod. That's why.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I see your point there. What about? I'll just try and find someone a bit cheaper.
I've just gone to page 2. I mentioned on 5 yard this week. I don't know how you'd feel, but I quite like Tyler Boyd this week. The Steelers. I've done a bit of deep diving this week. The Steelers rank 31st to opposing slot receivers on the season. They give up yardage and touchdowns to slot receivers. Tyler Boyd plays most of his snaps out of the slot.
Okay, yeah, don't mind that. What about Elijah Moore?
Yeah, again, someone else mentioned the other day.
Yeah, he's going to be popular though, isn't he?
Yeah, and if you look at his snaps with Zach Wilson, it's not good. So,
Cortland Sutton
against the Chargers.
He's been awful the last 3 weeks.
He has been awful. They've just paid him though.
Yeah. Why would they do that after like 3 weeks of rubbish?
I mean, Jerry Jeudy. I think Bridgewater. I think Jeudy just suits Bridgewater's game more. Why's Godwin got out here? I don't know what's going on there.
Van Jefferson.
It is quite. I think I'd rather play Odell Beckham. A week off the bye.
Yeah, well, he's going to get his 3 catches for 30 yards. Yeah, he'd be all right.
So you don't want to play Odell Beckham though.
Odell Beckham won't feature in any of my lineups at all at any stage during the season. He's not what he was.
What about this one? Obviously, Devontae Adams is going to see the treatment of Jalen Ramsey. Marquez Valdez-Scantling.
Oh God!
What he done last week? 22.3 points against the Vikings. 4 receptions, 123 yards, and a touchdown.
Yeah. What about that's fine if you're fading Adams.
I think it's a good value play.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, why not? Do you want to stick him in?
It's a big. I know what you're saying, but it's boom or bust, isn't it, with Valdez-Scantling?
Yeah.
We'll stick him in. We'll stick Valdez-Scantling in because, as I say, he had a good beat last week. He seems to have got a bit of the trust of Rodgers now as well. So maybe that just moves forward. We see it a little bit more, and hopefully it works out for us. But it's a boom or bust play. I wouldn't recommend it's like when you played Deshaun Jackson, isn't it? You need him to catch one of them 70-yard bombs and get a touchdown like he did on the Thanksgiving slate.
Oh yeah, that's right. You're just hoping for a couple of big catches, aren't you?
Yeah.
He's not going to be getting 10, 12 targets, is he? So
no, definitely. Should we move? We'll move on. Should we get a tight end in, and then we can see how much money we sort of got left, then, and start building? Because I think now we've got 2 value plays in, we might stand a chance of getting some proper value in as well
Yeah.
now. Once we've got our tight end in, Carl Pitts is the most expensive option. I would prefer to play George Kittle, who's
Yeah.
obviously 0.1 mil cheaper. That I wouldn't be playing Carl Pitts.
No, in that
He,
matchup as well.
yeah, I mean, he's probably going to see double coverage in that game as well against the Jags. Dallas Goedert's a nice play. The Giants just, I mean, you just see what Gronk done to the Giants, 70 yards, and the Giants just, as I mentioned earlier, there's hemorrhage yardage to every position in the NFL. So Goddard, and he's seeing so many targets in the game, so he's a nice sort of play. Just having a look at his little history here. Gronk, I don't know if I want to do a freeway stack.
Yeah, no, I like Gronk, but yeah, I wouldn't want a three-way stack. I think if you're pairing him, you can pair him with Brady without Godwin, but I don't know if I'd do three of them.
I do like Pat Fryermuth.
Yeah, I looked at him.
There's a couple here that are good play. Noah Fant's good play, but I think with Noah Fant, you have to worry that Albert O is going to vulture stuff. So I think there's a little bit of worry with Fant there. Dan Arnold, obviously, he had a bust last week, didn't he? No points, wasn't it, last week?
Yeah.
Yeah. 0 points against the 49ers. But before that, he was seeing a lot of targets. So nice matchup against the Falcons. Don't mind that one. Hunter Henry's just a red zone weapon. The guy just catches touchdowns galore. But that's not a particularly great matchup against the Titans. This was my favourite play on the 5-yard pod the other day. Evan Ingram against the Philadelphia Eagles. Like I mentioned, Freddie Kitchens was the tight ends coach. He's now the offensive coordinator of the Giants. The Eagles are dead last on the season. They give up the most fantasy points to opposing tight ends. They've given up 9 touchdowns to opposing tight ends. And in the last 2 weeks, they've given up 215 yards to tight ends. So I really like Evan Ingram.
Yeah, don't mind that play. Yeah.
Depleted wide receiver core of the Giants as well. So, I mean, at worst, he's probably going to be second or third pass catcher on that team.
Yeah. I don't mind that. I want to plug him in. I'm trying to find some value somewhere, but I don't really find anything. Maybe Parham Jr. He's only 5 million, but he's another boom or bust plays. Yeah,
he's not a bit of red zone work though, isn't he, Parham Jr.?
Yeah. Maybe you could. I don't know, Cameron. Oh no, because we've already got Tampa. So, what about Mo Ali Cox?
Let me just have a look. Where I don't actually know where the.
I know we're scraping the barrel here with the tight ends, but
I'm just having a look where the Bucks rank against opposing tight ends on the season. So they ranked 22nd in the last 2 weeks. 11th. It's an okay matchup, isn't it? It's not a bad one. Wentz did look for Mo Ali Cox last week, didn't he? Just overthrew him a little bit. I don't mind that. That's a bring back as well, isn't it?
Yeah,
I don't mind that. We're plugging Mo Ali Cox in this lineup. We're going to get a bit different, I think, this week, Shaun. We're going to boom or bust it.
Yeah, no, that's right. I mean, our lineup is certainly different.
Right, so how much we got? We got 73.5 million left. We got plug in 4 players. Should we get the DST out of the way and then we can play around with whatever we want?
Yeah.
So DSTs, obviously the Patriots are the most expensive. I wouldn't really want to play them now. Now we're playing Hillard against. I don't really like doing that against my running backs. We actually looked on the 5-yard rush. The Chargers are really cheap this week against the Broncos.
Yeah.
Oh no, the Broncos. Sorry, the Broncos are very cheap against the Chargers. 6.4 million.
Yeah, I don't mind that. Slightly higher. I love the 49ers defense. 6.8 million.
Yeah, you've talked me into that actually. The 49ers in that game now, so we'll do that. We're plugging the 49ers. You said they're getting healthier, so we're going to plug in the 49ers, and we've now got 66.7 million. We've got some money to spend now.
That's good to hear.
Running backs. Let's move back there. Do we just plug in? We both like Austin Eckler, didn't we, actually?
Yeah, we like Eckler.
Or do we play CMC?
Oh dear. Tight. 24, 40. I'd say CMC.
You want to play CMC, yeah?
Yeah, I
Right.
think slightly
We'll
favourite.
get CMC in. We've got 43.7 million to get 2 players in. We've got money here. We can pay up. We can either go for another running back, and then add another wide receiver, or we can go for 2 wide receivers. It's entirely your call.
What about Cooper Cup? You like him?
Well, we could have a mini stack there, couldn't we, with Valdez Scantling? I'm not gonna. You can't hate Cooper Cup, can you? So,
No. I mean, no. You say it's going to be cold, so
it will be cold. It's going to be. I don't know. Is that a late game? Is that a 9 p.m. game?
yeah, it is.
That's going to be very cold then in Green Bay. I mean, it was snowing there 2 weeks ago, wasn't it? So
Yeah, and it'd be dark by the time the game finishes. So
it's going to be dark by the time it starts, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a 9:25 game. Mind you, I don't hate having pieces in the later game.
Yeah, I like to have pieces in the later game. At least if you're behind, you still got a sniff.
I don't hate it because I do like doing these little mini stacks. And if we go for Cup, we've got the mini stack there with Valdez Scantling. We've got this stack here and the bring back with Ali Cox. Let's do it. Let's stick Cup in. That leaves us with 21.2 million, mate. We could do anything. We can go any wide receiver you like. I mean, Debo. We talked about Debo, or we could go back to running back. We could do anything here.
I like Debo, but I'm biased, as you know.
I like Debo.
Yeah, I will plug Debo in. Nothing.
If he's still going to consider, like, I know if he's still going to get that rushing work, that's a great player, isn't it? At the end of the day, like if we'll stick Debo in. So we've got Debo in at wide receiver. How much money we got left? 3.2 million. So we could take Hillard out and try and pay up a little bit more running back. But if you're happy, I'm happy to leave it as that.
Maybe. Do you think we could pay up a little bit of tight end?
We could do, but then we wouldn't have our little game stack there, would we? But we could do.
No.
Let's have a look. What we got? So Jared Cook, Evan Ingram.
But you like Ingram, isn't it? You're not
I do. It's a great matchup. The Eagles giving up the most touchdowns on the season to opposing tight ends.
Yeah, I think Ingram's got higher upside than Ali Cox, I think. So
right, we'll stick Ingram in. I'm happy with that team. I like it.
Looks pretty good.
So we've got Tom Brady at quarterback, Godwin at wide receiver, Valdez Scantling at wide receiver, Cup, Samuel at wide receiver, Ingram at tight end, running backs of Hillard and McCaffrey, and the 49ers DST. Shaun, I'm going to lock it in. We're going to hopefully win this week.
Be nice, wouldn't
it? It would be nice. It's in. The team is in, Shaun.
Good, let's go.
The boom or bust team. Right. Guys, thank you for joining us once again. Shaun, where can we find your lovely self?
Twitter, Smo DFS, or FanTeam Discord. So yeah, find me either places. So yeah. So
yeah, and you find me on Twitter at JackHumphreyKM and sign up to FanTeam at fanteam.co/NFL. And guys, good luck in week 12. Let's get some wins.
Yes, please. See you later all.